The Harry Potter film series took well over $7 billion at the box office. So how did the stars spend their paychecks? I assume the ones with the Hogwarts logo on them. Let's start with the man himself, Daniel Radcliffe. Ever since he hung up his Harry Potter glasses, he's been working steadily in things like Miracle Workers, Swiss Army Man, and Horns. His career has earned him $110 million. He also has no problem spending it. What Radcliffe loves to spend his money on the most is real estate. He purchased not one, not two, but 3 apartments in New York City. That includes a $5.6 million West Village apartment, a $4.9 million Soho apartment, and one on West 12th Street for $6.2 million. You would think that a movie star like Radcliffe would roll around in a brand new Lambo or a classic Ferrari. Well, think the opposite of that. Funnily enough, as far as cars go, he appears to be clueless. He drives around in a Fiat Grande Punto that only costs around $4,000, and that's if you get a bad deal. I don't know, maybe it flies or something? As far as the strange things go, Radcliffe is as quirky as a celebrity as you'd think he is. For instance, while everyone values a good night's sleep, not everyone is as prepared to drop big bucks on it as he is. When he was 22, he spent $17,000 on a new Savoir mattress. Funnily enough, this was still on the cheap side. This brand can go for over $100,000. Then there's his love of the arts. This all started when he saw his first art love, Mona D. Mary and Me by Jim Hodges. Funnily enough, they weren't going to sell it to him because he wasn't a prestigious collector. The artist, however, was a huge Harry Potter fan and insisted they sell it to him for an undisclosed amount. Radcliffe then famously dropped $2 million on a kaleidoscope painting. The butterfly painting by Damon Hirst caught Radcliffe's eye and became a favorite of his. I imagine he's still a little disappointed though every time he walks by one of these paintings and they don't talk to him. I know I am. Of course, you don't have to spend a ton of money to have a great time. Many celebrities have problems with the paparazzi, and Radcliffe has been no exception. People have been following him around everywhere, taking photos of anything they could.
I'm Colin Creevy. I'm in Gryffindor too.
While many celebs have gotten angry, Radcliffe got a very special kind of revenge. He decided to buy several pairs of the exact same outfit and wore it everywhere he went. That way, anytime someone took his picture, it seemed like an old photograph someone was trying to pass off as new. Thus, it was worthless. That's revenge on a budget. Fred and George would be so proud. Emma Watson may have started out as the lovable know-it-all Hermione Granger, but she's had quite the career since then. Roles in Beauty and the Beast, Little Women, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower have earned her $85 million. Her purchases are as classy as you'd expect. Her first big purchases with that Harry Potter money included a laptop, a holiday with her dad, and a $30,000 Prius. Since then, she's certainly upgraded her rides with a $95,000 armored Cadillac Escalade, a $71,000 Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and a $43,000 Audi S3. Then there's her home in the historic Islington section of Greater London. The 2,271 square foot home features 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It was purchased in 2016 for an estimated $3.3 million. The home has plenty of history too, as it used to be owned by the writer of 1984, George Orwell. Rumor has it the real reason she picked this home up, sight unseen, was because it promised to be paparazzi proof. That's how you make a sale to a private movie star.
You have no business here. This tent is for champions.
She's well known in the fashion world too, frequently seen wearing designer looks from the likes of Ralph Lauren or Louis Vuitton. Then there's jewelry, which she's known to splurge on. That includes a $9,000 pair of Karma El Khalil pyramid drop earrings and a $12,500 Karma El Khalil diamond trilogy ring. Beyond that, she's known for activism and donating to charity. This includes donating $1 million to a hotline for women in trouble. So she's a hero both on and off screen. Ron Weasley actor Rupert Grint may not have had the continued success some of his co-stars have, but he's not too bad off. As of today, he's still reported to be worth $50 million. That number might be a lot higher if he hadn't spent his money like, well, a teenager who just became a millionaire. For starters, he bought a house that puts the borough to shame. His beautiful $7.5 million mansion sits on 22.6 acres of land with enormous gardens and even its own lake. The 6-bedroom estate features 2 swimming pools, a jacuzzi, a gym, a game room, a floodlit tennis court, and 2 guest cottages. All things considered, there are worse houses to blow a ton of money on. He bought some weird things too. Apparently one of the most regrettable choices Grint made was to get a hovercraft. These water vehicles can go for up to $79,000. Judging from his apparent regret over buying one, I'm betting he didn't get his money's worth. Still, there's one purchase that he's become famous for. Grint may have spent his Weasley fortune on the cutest thing I've ever seen a celebrity throw money at. When he was in the middle of filming the Harry Potter series around the time of Goblet of Fire, Grint fulfilled a childhood ambition. He decided to become an ice cream man. He purchased a Bedford Mr. Whippy ice cream truck and started driving around to give kids free ice creams delivered by Ron Weasley himself. I don't know exactly how much he spent on it back then, but today that kind of truck goes for around $12,000 with a $35,000 franchise fee. All things considered, that's a small price to pay for a young millionaire to make his childhood dream come true. Tom Felton hasn't exactly hit it big after starring as Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. He's had a few minor roles in things like The Flash and Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but not much else of note. Still, his $20 million probably keeps him company while he's waiting for the phone to ring. Unfortunately, when he first got rich as a young man, he immediately started spending money like crazy. It turns out that he has a thing for buying cars for not only himself, but family and friends. Yeah, apparently it pays to be Draco's friend in real life, too. The story goes that Felton bought a ton of BMWs, even though he was too young to drive at the time. Too many BMWs, it turns out. Felton threw his money around so casually that eventually the taxman realized he wasn't paying his due. This nearly cost Felton his fortune, but don't worry, he bounced back. Nowadays, he still likes to buy cars, but I imagine he does so on his accountant's approval now. That includes his $243,000 orange Huracan. These things can fly faster than a Nimbus 2001 at speeds of 190 miles per hour. Apparently, he's traded his love of BMWs for Lambos because he's also got a $200,000 Lamborghini Urus. That will go nicely with what's gotta be his best Lambo buy yet. That would be his $500,000 gray Lamborghini Aventador. There's no word on whether or not he's bought any Lambos for his friends, though. I'm betting his accountant wouldn't be too happy about that. What do you think Lord Voldemort spends his $50 million on? Well, prepare to be surprised. Ralph Fiennes is a lot closer to the well-dressed spies he portrays in The King's Man or the James Bond series. He's gone into great detail describing the classy things he likes to spend his money on. His favorite thing to buy for himself? Handmade shoes from John Loeb that go for $6,500 to $10,000. What kind of clothes does he wear? Well, he picks brands like Dwar Men, where he can pick himself up a $3,100 coat. What kind of watch does he use? Well, he's been seen wearing Long Island's Conquest Heritage pink gold wristwatch that costs over $10,000. So yeah, he's a lot closer to Oxford Snot Brogues than he is to conquering the wizarding world. Alan Rickman was a legend long before he put on that Severus Snape wig. He was legendary in films like Die Hard or Galaxy Quest. Despite his decades of success on both stage and screen, he will likely always be known for his work in the Harry Potter films. Unfortunately, he passed away long before the reunion special aired, but we can still look back on how he lived his life and spent his modest fortune. His decades as an actor earned him a reported $16 million. From 2006 until the end of his life, Rickman lived in a West Village apartment in New York City. It was an appropriately classy white apartment with hardwood floors, high ceilings, and plenty of natural light. The 925 square foot home had 1 bedroom and 1 bath, 12-foot ceilings, a walk-in shower, a compact kitchen, and a wood-burning fireplace. This place ended up selling for $1.7 million, hopefully to a Slytherin. Rickman drove as classily as he lived. He didn't have an enormous collection, but what he did drive made a statement, as you'd expect. He was most known for cruising around in a sleek $50,000 Maserati Ghibli S, though it looks like he may have used a driver instead of actually taking the wheel himself. Rumor has it that he actually failed his driver's test for driving too cautiously. That's just funny because you know if Snape was a driver, he would run all the reds. What he really loved to spend his money on will warm your heart. While Snape enjoyed nothing more than torturing students, Rickman was the opposite. His favorite way to spend money was to take co-stars and friends out to dinner in some of the nicest restaurants where he picked up the tab. Many people who worked with Rickman said that he would spend time mentoring younger actors on how to make it in Hollywood and on stage. Not only that, but he was apparently a terrible gossip as well. I don't know which of those I wish I could have been there for more. The final season of Stranger Things is officially on the way. It looks like the best season yet. But what are the lives like of the stars when they aren't battling the evil forces of the Upside Down? There's no doubt that the breakout star of Stranger Things is 11 herself, Millie Bobby Brown. Since appearing in the franchise, she has lined up movie franchises like Godzilla and Enola Holmes. Not only that, but she's been pulling in big deals with modeling deals and endorsements left and right. Despite being just 18, she has already amassed a wealth of over $10 million. So what do you drop cash on when you're a teenage multi-millionaire? Well, naturally, you drop loads of cash on a ton of pretty things that you don't really need. When she was 16, she did what literally any rich 16-year-old would do and scored herself multiple fancy cars. That includes a $70,000 Mercedes-Benz V-Class Marco Polo, a $27,000 Mini Cooper, and a special Cadillac Escalade that's worth upwards of $100,000 she reportedly uses for premieres. Brown also likes to wear luxury clothes constantly. She's all about that handbag life, where she's been seen sporting designer names like Louis Vuitton $2,700 shearling handbags, By Far's $505 Colt micro bags, and Gucci's $1,145 mini GG bags. They should probably pay her for that too, because pretty much every time she sports a new bag, it becomes a headline with a link to exactly where you can purchase it. Seriously, every single style Mills takes on instantly becomes a big deal to sites like 17, which dissect each and every part of the look. I mean, who can blame them? For her 18th birthday, she sported an instantly iconic modern Cinderella-style gown accompanied by glitter eyeliner. She basically looked like the classiest princess at Euphoria High School. She then used the look to advertise for her very own brand, Florence by Mills. Who knows, as much as people love her products online, she may be more successful for the Florence brand than for her acting. In her downtime, she really likes two-piece pink pajama sets from Justin Bieber's label Drew. She has been seen sporting the little yellow Drew smiley on clothes all over Instagram. This was actually a huge deal for the brand. Honestly, they probably should have hired her too. She has two different homes, as she frequently splits her time between being close to her family in London and filming in Atlanta. There isn't a ton of public information on the homes, but from the pics she's shared, it's clear that both are classy, modern, and perfect for families to bond. And for dogs. Mills loves to post pics of her dogs. Like any good millennial star, she also makes sure to give back to charity. She has donated to UNICEF and the Olivia Hope Foundation. She also donated tens of thousands to overwhelmed hospitals in England during the craziest days of the COVID-19 pandemic. This giving nature explains why she has such a rabid fan base who worships her every move. There are definitely worse celebrities to worship, that's for sure. Honestly, we all know that even as Stranger Things comes to an end, Brown's career is just taking off. Netflix has already shown that they consider her to be a true asset, and Hollywood just loves casting her in things. Frankly, it's shocking that she hasn't already been cast in a Marvel movie. Rumor has it that both Marvel and DC have had talks with her to become a big-time superhero. Time will tell which one she chooses to suit up with. Aside from Millie Bobby Brown, no other actor has become a rising star quite like David Harbour. Stranger Things took his career of minor bit parts from the background of TV shows and movies into him becoming a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Though people loved his superhero performance as Red Guardian from Black Widow more than his performance playing a different Red Guardian in the disastrous Hellboy remake. Despite all of this, he has only amassed $6 million, which is surprising considering how often he's cropped up in big-budget movies. As you might could guess from his on-screen personality, Harbour is a wild man who has a lot of passion. For instance, he met singer Lily Allen in 2019, and within a year, the two jetted off to Vegas where they were married by an Elvis impersonator. Considering the fact that even a non-Hollywood wedding costs over $20,000, while an Elvis wedding in Vegas runs for only a few hundred, I'd say that this was a great deal, especially considering the fact that they're still together today. As far as where all that superhero money has gone, look no further than his relationship. Harper apparently loves to blow big money on Allen as often as possible. It was big news when he celebrated her birthday by decorating her apartment with hundreds of roses and handmade decorations by her daughters. Also, you should see how big her diamond ring is. When Harper loves, he apparently loves big. It's rumored to cost upwards of $10,000. Harper may have been known for arguably launching the internet's obsession with the dad bod, but he actually had to go through a great deal of work to get a superhero body for Hellboy. If you didn't know, the unattainable superhero physique is usually done by hiring a specialist who designs a highly focused training routine to get the exact body the film requires. For Harper, that trainer was the one and only Don Saladino. He is famous for this exact type of work in Hollywood. Saladino is known for working with big-time actors turned superheroes like Ryan Reynolds, Sebastian Stan, and Hugh Jackman, so his work speaks for itself. Naturally, his services don't come cheap. These personal sessions can reportedly cost over $1,000 for each go, but you can purchase them right off his website for under $100, though you won't have him motivating you in person, which is probably where the difference in price comes from. As far as the kind of homes Harper likes, frankly, it's rather surprising. One might guess that Harper lives in a run-down mess of a place just like Hopper does on the show. Instead, he lives in the exact opposite kind of place. In fact, he has a gorgeous, reconstructed New York loft. Every single inch of this place is classy and covered in plants. Seriously, from the hallways to the living spaces to the bedrooms, there are hanging plants everywhere. Don't give him too much credit for it though. He paid thousands of dollars to Kyle O'Donnell of Gramercy Design to make it look as classy as possible. So what's next for David Harbour? Well, he's following up the final season of Stranger Things by filming a movie called Violent Nights, where he stars as a violent version of Santa Claus who has to take down a team of mercenaries in order to save Christmas. That sounds like the most David Harbour project I've ever heard of. Winona Ryder was a Hollywood legend long before Stranger Things. She became famous for projects like Heathers, Edward Scissorhands, and one of the 17 adaptations of Little Women Hollywood has made. Despite that certified legend status, Ryder fell on hard times career-wise. The phone just wasn't ringing like it used to. That is, until it rang with a little offer called Stranger Things. Her incredible performance as Joyce Byers has made her a household sensation once again. Her career, both old and new, has brought her a sizable fortune of around $18 million. While she was the most paid cast member from the start of season 1, they still picked her up pretty cheap by movie star standards. That all changed when the show took off. She was able to negotiate for a $1.1 million an episode salary. Despite all this, Ryder is a very, very down-to-earth person. Her favorite food is a grilled cheese sandwich, not some fancy 5-star meal she could easily afford. Her favorite singer is Justin Bieber, just like many other normal people all over the world. When the pandemic shut down production on Stranger Things, Ryder even donated a part of her salary to keep people paid during the break. Even her house is a far cry from the type of mansions you see big Hollywood celebrities sporting. In fact, her San Francisco house looks just like the home from Full House. She purchased it in 1995 for $1.3 million, which is ridiculous by today's standards, even in one of the most affluent areas in the Bay Area, Cow Hollow. So when she finally decided to let the home go, they listed it at $4.9 million. After her shoplifting arrest in 2001 brought her career to a grinding halt, Ryder retreated to this estate to meditate on herself. She said this saved her life and likely brought about her new down-to-earth attitude. This is the exact home to do something just like that. It's a lovely estate with 3 levels, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and 3,140 square feet of living space. The rooms have elevated patios that offer amazing views of the Golden Gate Bridge or Alcatraz. Each room of the house is recently renovated and absolutely gorgeous with pristine white walls, natural wood floors, and plenty of open space with natural light. It is an amazing space that's perfect for families, movie stars, or even sitcoms. Funnily enough, despite the fact that Netflix resurrected Ryder's entire career, she had no idea what Netflix even was. Someone actually had to explain to her what a streaming service was. She wanted to know what channel Netflix was on. Well, there's no doubt she knows all about it now. Dacre Montgomery may not have had a long stint on Stranger Things as the new bad boy in town, Billy, but he was quite memorable. He's turned that into a cool $2 million. The Australian actor goes for the finest homes money can buy, such as this gorgeous penthouse apartment in Sydney. It's a $1.55 million 2-bedroom place that is all glass and natural light in every direction. If that wasn't nice enough, the marble bathroom will probably win you over for good. Having to quarantine here with a supermodel girlfriend honestly doesn't sound all that bad. While there are many great actors on Stranger Things, there's only one who has the best hair. That is undeniably Steve Harrington himself, Joe Keery. His gravity-defying mop top has earned him $4 million. He is very aware of his responsibilities as a modern heartthrob, too. He once was spotted with less than perfect hair and made sure it would never happen again. Every couple of weeks, he gets a slight trim that doesn't make his hair look too perfect, but just a little messy. His stylist then recommends 2 Oribe mousses, the Surf Comber Tousled Texture Mousse. Afterwards, a Matte Waves Texture Lotion texturizes the entire look. He then finishes off with Oribe's Fiber Groom Elastic Texture Paste. Each of these products usually goes for around $20 to $30, but trust me, they can go for much, much more. Then there's his style, which goes for even more money. He wears Dolce & Gabbana suits that are over $8,000, Bodie blazers for $1,680, and Prada ensembles which go for over $8,000 altogether. Not only that, but he's low-key a rock star. His band Post Animal may be for fun, but it's a pretty psychedelic rock experience. There's a good chance that he actually may be cooler than Steve himself. Looking at Finn Wolfhard's mic from Season 1 is baffling now. He has grown so much since he first stole Eleven's heart in Hawkins, Indiana. Since then, he's made bank off of basically showing up in a movie to give it Stranger Things vibes. Look no further than the not-so-subtle comparisons It and Ghostbusters Afterlife have made to the show. This position has been very good for Finn, earning him $4 million, which is awesome for a kid that's just 19. His interests don't just lie with acting, though. Apparently, he keeps a MacBook on him at all times so that he can write screenplays and music for his band Calpurnia. He's usually seen playing a blue Fender that's worth around $2,000. So look out for this star to maybe win some Grammys in the near future. Why isn't there a collaboration with Joe Keery? As far as Finn's future, we'll see how long the novelty of making something that seems like Stranger Things will last. He decided to become an actor after watching the first Spider-Man movie, so maybe when Tom Holland finally puts the red and blue tights away, Wolfhard will give it his best shot to become the next Peter Parker. There are actors who have had more success, but few actors have portrayed as many lovable characters as Sean Astin. He's been Mikey in The Goonies, Rudy from Rudy, Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings, and the valiant Bob Newby from Stranger Things Season 2. This storied career has made him $10 million. As far as what kind of lifestyle Astin has, it seems like he's just as chill as you'd imagine. He bought a house in Calabasas for $1.2 million in 2003, with 4 bedrooms and 4 baths. A simple, cute, suburban neighborhood with giant pools, spacious living areas, and the kind of greenery someone from the Shire could be proud of. Perhaps the coolest purchase Astin has ever made is his tattoo. He has the Elvish word for 9 tattooed on his foot. This stands for the 9 members of the Fellowship of the Ring, which all of the principal members of the Lord of the Rings cast share. While there's been no word or rumor that he would reappear in the series, it seems
seems quite likely that the fan-favorite character could make one last appearance in Stranger Things' final season, in a flashback or perhaps as some kind of vision. The show is known for exactly that kind of thing. One of the most exciting things coming in the new season of Stranger Things is the inclusion of Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund. This isn't all that surprising given the show's love of 80s star stunt casting and the show's obvious love for the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Dream Warriors in particular. Englund himself has had a long career in Hollywood that has earned him a nice $16 million. While he has had a career outside of playing Freddy, his fortune has mostly come from appearances as the character. You see, for actors like Englund, who are famous for creatures or aliens who require heavy makeup, they actually charge a great deal more for the full Freddy than they do for a normal gig. Similar actors like Michael Dorn from the Star Trek franchise, or even Andy Serkis for his motion capture work, have different prices if you're paying them just to use their boring old face versus them sitting in a makeup chair for hours on end. For instance, getting him to don the red sweater once again for Freddy vs. Jason cost a full $1 million, whereas it's doubtful Stranger Things dropped nearly that much. As far as what Englund likes to spend his money on, well, his Laguna Beach home shows that he's just as much of a Freddy fan as everyone else. He collects Freddy Krueger memorabilia, spending thousands on toys, pinball machines, Elm Street road signs, and preserved memories from his time with the franchise. Funnily enough, you'd think he would have one of his iconic bladed gloves, but he actually gave the only one he kept to his agent as a thank you. Aside from buying every piece of Freddy merch he can get his hands on, apparently Englund still likes the cool, subdued California life he did when he was a kid. Apparently his favorite thing to do is just take his wife to a nice matinee, preferably a horror movie. Englund's new character, Victor Creel, will be a gruesome patient imprisoned at Penhurst Mental Hospital for the crimes he committed against his family. It seems like they had something to do with the great upside-down mystery the series is centered on. No matter what Creel's role in the season will be, there's one thing that's absolutely clear. The performance will be terrifying. Gaten Matarazzo absolutely won over the world with his lovable performance as Dustin in Stranger Things. This has earned him $5 million, even if Hollywood hasn't grabbed onto him quite like some of the other stars. Honestly, if you didn't know that he was Dustin on Stranger Things, you might not be able to tell he's a famous millionaire kid at all. He seems to be a pretty normal young man who likes buying video games, hanging out with friends, and going on dates. Someone needs to tell this kid he can buy a Lamborghini. Funnily enough, during quarantine, he actually had a different job altogether. While the show had paused filming, he actually got a part-time gig at the same restaurant many of his old friends and family were working at, right off of the Jersey Shore. He was motivated to get out of the house due to way too much Mario Kart, a problem no one knew existed before that. Despite the fact that he was wearing a mask and hat, people still recognized who he was while he was making deliveries. Getting a delivery from Dustin Henderson was probably better than the food.
The Fast and the Furious franchise has made billions of dollars at the box office. So how do the stars that made those billions spend their cash? Of course, we gotta start with Dominique Toretto himself, Vin Diesel. The Fast franchise has scored Diesel a net worth of around $225 million. When you're that big a star, how do you drop the cash? It would be such a shame if Vin had a weak car collection, right? I mean, how disappointed would you be to find out he drives around in a Prius? Well, no worries, because Diesel's car garage is stacked. Just like Dom, Diesel is all about the muscle cars. That includes Toretto's favorite, the Dodge Charger. He has two Chargers, the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona, worth around $260,000, and the Dodge Charger Tantrum, gifted to him by the cast of F9. This specifically built Charger by Speedcore was listed for nearly $700,000 before the cast bought it for him. He's also a big Chevy fan. Diesel's got a pair of their classic muscle cars too, including the 1973 Chevy Camaro Z28 F-Bomb that's worth around $40,000, and the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle, which can go for as high as $1.2 million. If you get one in perfect condition, that is. When he's not driving around like he's ready to break into a street race at any time, he's got a BMW E60 M5, which will only set you back around 27 grand. Diesel's house is definitely not what you would expect. It's a really classy $5.2 million Beverly Hills estate with 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. The interior is really clean and white with a decoration scheme right out of something like House and Garden. It does have a big pool and a pool table, but the tennis court kinda throws me. Can you even imagine Dominique Toretto playing tennis? Because I can't unless he just punches the ball over the net. Diesel also was famously photographed taking a vacay in Venice on a private yacht. Unfortunately, the photos were famous for all the wrong reasons. While the yacht he was on looked fine, Diesel very much didn't have his Dominique Toretto body going on. The Diesel dad bod was far from what fans were used to. Of course, he also has Hollywood personal trainers like Marco Loncar that stars can spend as much as $500 a session on. Just like Dom, it's all about family for Diesel. He reportedly went all out to take his son to a baseball game. He chartered a private jet in 2015 to get his son to his first ever game, the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. It can cost up to $3,000 an hour to charter this kind of flight. I really hope it was a good game. Diesel isn't just committed to the Fast franchise either. He's also looking to shoot some adrenaline into the dormant XXX franchise. The latest film, Return of Xander Cage, earned $346 million at the box office. So buying the rights to the XXX franchise is probably a pretty solid investment. This follows his decision to snatch up the Riddick franchise too, but that one may not make him as much cash. Both franchises have new entries in pre-production, so even as he finishes up the Fast saga, he won't be slowing down at all. Dwayne Johnson may have hit the big time when he revitalized the franchise with Fast 5, but he's since gone on to star in a ton of other big hits like Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, San Andreas, Jungle Cruise, and Skyscraper. All the producing he's done on top of that has earned Johnson $400 million. So what does The Rock spend his cash on? Johnson believes in exuding excellence in every aspect of his life. So of course that means he's got a ton of cars. Like Johnson himself, his rides are all work or all style. Perfect for a guy who's 260 pounds of muscle, but can still work it in a tailored suit. On the work side, he's got a Ford F-150 that's worth around 56 grand, and his 1971 Chevy Chevelle worth around 72 grand. While these are his workhorse cars, he's got a fleet of classy cars with much bigger price tags attached. He's got a $39,000 Plymouth Prowler, a $76,000 Cadillac Escalade, a $450,000 2017 Ford GT, a $173,000 Lamborghini Huracan, and a $300,000 Rolls-Royce Wraith. The top of the top shelf for Johnson are his Ferrari LaFerrari that's worth around $1.4 million, and his Pagani Huayra that runs about $2.6 million. Sorry, Ben, I think The Rock has you beat on this one. His house game may be better than Diesel's too. He recently dropped $27.8 million on Paul Reiser's old house in Beverly Hills. It's a huge 6-bedroom, 12-bathroom home in the classiest part of the neighborhood. Seriously, his neighbors include the likes of Denzel Washington, Eddie Murphy, and Sylvester Stallone. The home itself stretches across 17,000 square feet with all the amenities. Seriously, it's got a tennis court, a pool, a gym, a movie theater, a second pool indoors, a music room, and even a baseball diamond. The house was described as a personal resort, which looks pretty accurate. Every inch of this home is classy, but not in the cold way some expensive homes are. It's just as impressively sized, charming, and stylish as the guy who shelled out tens of millions on it. Perhaps the biggest question with The Rock everyone's wondering is what's up with the full tribal tattoos. He's been in a ton of movies and they make a point not to cover up an inch of it with makeup. First we have the Brahma bull tattoo on his right arm that symbolizes his Taurus zodiac sign. Then there are the tribal tattoos that run up his chest and up his other arm. They are meant to remind him of his Samoan heritage and the warrior spirit that overcomes adversity. Those include the Samoan Chief Warrior, the Tortoiseshell, the Great Eye, and several others that took over 60 hours to complete. That's not even counting any touch-ups he's had done. The Rock reportedly spent over $5,000 on these tats. No wonder he won't let any makeup people cover it up. For 5 G's, I wouldn't either. After what might be the most famous Hollywood beef of the last decade, the Fast and Furious franchise faced a real problem. How do we replace The Rock? Well, obviously the only answer was to cast John Cena as Dom's long-lost brother. The franchise's other WWE star had a harder time breaking into acting than Johnson did, but with F9 and his turn as Peacemaker, Cena has fully cemented himself as a Hollywood superstar worthy of that $60 million net worth. Cena has exactly the car collection you'd expect him to have. Not a single one of these rides are subtle in any way. He's got a 2007 Ford Mustang worth over $20,000, a 1970 Plymouth Superbird worth over $300,000, a 1966 Dodge Hemi Charger 426 worth around $12,000, a 1969 Capo Chevrolet Camaro worth $200,000, and a supercharged 2006 Ford GT worth around $400,000. His most unique car is his custom C7 Corvette. You might not even be able to tell that's what it is because the Parker brothers transformed it into the Incinerator. Get it? Because his name is Cena? Yeah, none of these are subtle. No one knows exactly how much this car is worth, but I'd guess it's worth well over $1 million. Cena also bought a nice estate in Florida. It's a $3.5 million home that's just as lavish as you'd expect. It has a long, winding staircase with a swanky black and white color scheme that makes it look a lot less like a professional wrestler's home than one you'd see in a reality show. His wife even has a huge closet just for her shoes. I mean, how do these two not have a House of Cena TV show yet? The place has 2 swimming pools, one with its own theme park style water slide. He's also dropped a ton of money on renovations, including a big change to the garage to incorporate all those cars he's got. With all the additions and changes Cena's made, the home has reportedly doubled in value. Just look at this added space to the back of the house that has a glass roof with a pool underneath. No wonder it is now worth over $6 million. Apparently Cena's favorite spot in his home is his men's-only cigar room. This is Cena's version of a man cave where he can just be himself and light up a few cigars. It's a surprisingly classy place with leather chairs, a private bar, and even a chess set. Still though, he's got a row of football helmets that fulfills that man cave fantasy. He might not seem like the most philanthropic guy from the outside, but he is ridiculously committed to giving back. The man got brought in as the brand ambassador for Make-A-Wish. He's granted over 600 wishes. Cena has also given away 4.5 million flying miles, which is easily worth hundreds of thousands. He also dropped $1 million on the Fit Ops Foundation, which trains retired veterans. I bet that would make more than a few people feel bad about mean tweeting John Cena. Gal Gadot may be more known for playing Wonder Woman nowadays, but Fast fans will always think of her as Giselle first. That role as Han's tragic girlfriend was the first step to her becoming a movie star worth $30 million. So how does an Amazon spend her fortune? Well, her car collection is as classy as she is. She's got a Mini Cooper worth $30,000, a Cadillac Escalade worth $85,000, a Tesla Model X worth $79,000, a Jaguar F-Type worth $103,000, and a BMW X5M worth $105,000. That's not even counting the invisible jet either. No telling how much one of those costs. Godot spends big money on vacations and hotels, but there's really nothing like owning your own paradise. As far as houses go, she recently purchased a gorgeous multi-million-dollar Malibu penthouse. It's a gorgeous minimalist home with limited furniture and a ton of natural light. It might be relatively cozy by celebrity standards, but that one-of-a-kind view is really what you're paying for. How much is that view worth exactly? $5 million. Godot is also known for her impeccable taste in jewelry. Perhaps the most impressive piece she's ever worn is the Blue Ice Tiffany & Co. necklace. It featured over 1,000 diamonds. While no one knows for sure how much this necklace cost, it is definitely in the millions. That's just the jewelry too. Once you factor in the dress, the personal stylist, the personal trainer who helped craft that Amazonian shape, and 20 other things, you gotta realize that every single one of these knockout red carpet appearances costs hundreds of thousands, if not millions, even without the Tiffany's necklace. Though sometimes stars like Godot can actually be paid hundreds of thousands to wear the clothes instead. Now that's the best way to do it. Funnily enough, it almost seemed like acting wasn't in the cards for Godot. Even though the Fast franchise made her into a star, she wasn't really fond of playing Giselle. In fact, Godot nearly gave it all up to run her own hotel. She owned the Versano Hotel in Tel Aviv. Godot no doubt was going to be a property mogul until Wonder Woman came along and snatched her back into the acting world. Once she landed the dream role that made her an A-list star, she gave up the hotel and sold it to a billionaire, Roman Abramovich, who turned it into his new house. So how much was this hotel worth? Apparently the place was sold for roughly $31 million. Who knows, if she hadn't become a superhero, there might be a Godot brand hotel in every major city in the world. No one is probably more surprised to be a big-time Fast and Furious star than Jason Statham. He started out as the villain Deckard Shaw, who terrorized the Toretto clan after they took down his younger brother. The Transporter star then flipped that villain role into his own spin-off right next to Dwayne Johnson. This success, alongside other big franchises like The Expendables, has brought Statham $90 million. Pretty much every character Statham has ever played has been super into cars. Does his car collection live up to the hype he's been building for decades? In a word, yes. Statham, like many British actors, is a big Audi fan. He's purchased 4. Those include his $120,000 2006 Audi S8, his $90,000 2004 Audi RS6, and both the 2008 Audi R8 for $90,000 and his 2010 Audi R8 for $160,000. Beyond that, it's a wide assortment of big names, including his $100,000 Mercedes-Benz S63 AMG and his $280,000 Aston Martin DBS Volante. Honestly, I was going to be disappointed if Statham didn't have at least one Aston Martin. No one with that much James Bond style should be without an Aston Martin. Statham also has a ton of really swanky homes. His most ostentatious place is his Spanish-style compound in Los Angeles with vibrant colors and greenery everywhere. This place, which he bought from Ben Stiller of all people, was for $7.3 million. He has a beach home in Malibu too that's worth upwards of $10 million for the ultimate vacation spot. As far as his personal style goes, he's been spotted many times wearing his own IWC Big Pilot's watch to go with his custom suits. Even this timepiece is worth over $8,000. Statham is also a big fan of water sports. He's been seen flying around on his own jet ski. High-end jet skis can go for tens of thousands. It looks like this is one of his favorite hobbies to do with his wife. He was also a member of Britain's national diving squad for nearly 12 years. That's not even counting his hobby of hunting down giant prehistoric sharks. What, you didn't know The Meg was based on a real story? Michelle Rodriguez may be famous for her roles in big successes like Avatar and Lost, but we all know that she will forever be remembered as the true love of Dominique Toretto's life
Letty. Her continued success with the franchise has earned her $25 million. If I've learned anything about these Fast and Furious stars, it's that all of them drive like their characters in the franchise. Rodriguez is certainly no exception. She is a big fan of classy supercars with giant price tags. Those cover most of the biggest car brands. That includes her $80,000 Jaguar F-Type, a $110,000 Mercedes-Benz S-Class, a $240,000 Ferrari 458 Italia, and my favorite, her $500,000 Lamborghini Aventador. Honestly, she drives better rides in real life than she ever has in the Fast and Furious movies. If you think Idris Elba has the standard collection of high-end cars, prepare to be surprised. A guy like Idris Elba, who is a designer, a screenwriter, a director, a producer, a musician, and the man who broke a 90-year-old land speed record, can't just have a few fast cars. Apparently, Elba is a big race car fan because he's purchased a Ford Fiesta F1 rally car, which can go for as high as $85,000 for a road version. Those things can fly at speeds well over 200 miles per hour. That's not even his fastest race car. He's also got a Super Comp dragster that can go for over 330 miles per hour. I'm not even sure how much he dropped on his, but dragsters like this can go for $500,000. Someone just let Idris Elba drive in Formula One. Clearly that's what he really wants to do. Vin Diesel's career has brought in well over $7 billion.
The luxury of celebrity life makes it look like they live in another universe. For the cast of Doctor Strange, that's kind of true. Keep watching to see how the masters of the mystic arts spend their millions. Benedict Cumberbatch has been taking the stage and gracing our screens for the last 2 decades. His long and thriving career has earned him a fortune of around $40 million. Sorry to break it to everyone, but Doctor Strange doesn't actually live on Bleecker Street, that we know of. His digs are still pretty sweet. In 2015, Cumberbatch bought a mansion in the Los Angeles Hidden Hills neighborhood for $12.6 million. It's a Tuscan-style house, with the main materials being stone, terracotta, and marble. It's a modest 13,000 square feet with 7 bedrooms and 6.5 bathrooms. It has all the conventions of a nice house, with a grand foyer, living room, dining room, and gourmet kitchen. The fun is in all the extras. The house has a vintage-style theater room fit for a movie star. And outside, there's an extensive garden, a swimming pool, a hot tub, a cabana patio, and a basketball court. And it's no surprise that Sherlock Holmes himself owns real estate in the UK. Also in 2015, Cumberbatch dropped £2.7 million on a 4-story, 5-bedroom mansion in North London. He and his wife Sophie Hunter spent years renovating the house to be more modern. It includes a reception area, a living room, a sitting room, a large updated kitchen, and a 70-foot garden. They also added a rear extension to the house. Unfortunately, not even celebrities are safe from the Homeowners Association. The rebuild was bogged down by neighbors' complaints for years. If only he could actually open a circle in the universe and make them go away. His other property is a London apartment that he bought in 2008. The original top floor flat cost £475,000. In 2010, he bought the unit below for an additional £300,000 and connected them. Now, it's a 3-story Victorian townhouse with 3 bedrooms, original fireplaces, wood floors, and a bespoke kitchen. But the biggest perk is definitely the south-facing rooftop terrace with views of the city. When he and his wife bought the new house, he actually put up the apartment for rent. For the low price of £3,385 a month, you and your 2 closest friends could live in Smaug's house. And this Avenger isn't just a real estate tycoon. He also is an avid car collector. When he isn't putting cracks in the universe, this wizard is flying down the street in a fleet of luxury cars. He's a big fan of supercars. He has 2 Jaguars, a Jaguar XJ, worth an estimated $76,000, and a Jaguar F-Type, worth around $74,000. On top of that, he has a Mercedes S500, worth $110,000. In 2019, he became a brand ambassador for the MG GS and ZS in India. So on his modest days, he's driving an MG GS. It's a fairly basic SUV that will only set you back between $20,000 and $36,000. The most expensive ride in his collection is his Lamborghini Urus 4x4, worth a whopping $222,000. He went with the classic British racing green, maybe as a homage to the Time Stone. It's a Lambo for the whole family, although Benedict's passengers should enter with caution. He hit a cyclist with it back in 2019. Don't worry, the man was fine, or at least fine enough to hit Cumberbatch in the face for hitting him with his car. Seems like an even trade. Elizabeth Olsen has been an actress her whole life, and she's taken the MCU by storm as Wanda Maximoff. Her acting credits and her time as a brand ambassador for Bobbi Brown Cosmetics have earned her a net worth of $11 million. This Olsen sister is extremely private about her home life. However, she has not been quiet about her love for England. In her words, she's living a British dream. In a 2019 interview with Architectural Digest, she says she lives in the Richmond by the River Thames. The magazine harped on her minimalist style and disdain for tchotchkes. She says the only area in her house that's fully stocked is her kitchen. She loves to cook and always has plenty of spices and condiments to play around with. She even has a set of knives that she travels with so she can cook on the go. She did a fridge tour with First We Feast in 2021, and the kitchen proved to be a chef's dream. It featured a full gas range, butcher block counters, plenty of cabinet space, and a seating area with a door to her backyard. The minimalist doesn't stop with her house either. The WandaVision star drives the most basic vehicle there is, a Toyota Prius. We wonder if this was a point of contention between her and Benedict. The car is worth around $25,000. It may not be super fancy, but it's definitely good for the environment. So, there's that. Although Lizzie Olsen seems pretty frugal when it comes to her spending, she spares no expense when it comes to cosmetics. She's a brand ambassador for Bobbi Brown Cosmetics, and their products range in price from $18 to $140. She's made multiple tutorial videos for the brand in case anyone wants to see the process in action. We assume that she gets most of the products for free now that she's one of the faces of their brand. However, on the Bobbi Brown website, she details her favorite products. To purchase all of them costs $214 before tax and shipping. Although she is a natural beauty, it helps that her skincare costs the same as a car payment. It seems that this star is purely a fan of simple comforts. A car that gets her from point A to point B, and a fridge that works. When she spends her money, it's for small things like a cup of joe from Alfred Coffee in Studio City. Admittedly, Alfred Coffee is a little pricier than your average Dunkin'. Their cheapest coffee is a plain drip for $4.50, and she seems like a latte lady. If there's one thing that even the thriftiest of celebrities can't resist, it's a cute puppy. Olsen has been seen walking her dog on multiple occasions. From photos, we can guess she has a black and white Labradoodle. This breed can cost anywhere between $500 to $4,000, depending on whether you buy, adopt, or rescue. It's definitely an investment, but who could resist that face? She's proof that fur babies are priceless. By now, the secret is out that Sir Patrick Stewart will be joining the MCU in the new Doctor Strange film. From Star Trek to X-Men, his career has earned him a net worth of $70 million. He's a UK native, but prefers to buy American when it comes to real estate. In 2012, he dropped $2.5 million on a duplex in the Park Slope neighborhood in New York City. The apartment is a little over 2,100 square feet, with 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. The living, dining, and kitchen area is 31 feet wide, with a wall of Marvin casement windows. The Lux flat also has 2 wood-burning fireplaces, a laundry room, and a chef's kitchen. The place is a fortress with a towering iron gate and an 8-foot door and a private keyed elevator. Stewart also owns property on the opposite coast. In 2019, he bought a mansion in Hancock Park, Los Angeles for $4.3 million. The 1920s Mediterranean revival-style home is a throwback to the beginning of Hollywood. It's 4,500 square feet, with 4 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. The house is a West Coast castle, fit for a night like Sir Patrick Stewart. Right inside, there's a grand foyer with a curved staircase and a huge skylight. Further on, there's a step-down living room with a cove ceiling and fireplace. Other extras include a library and a music lounge, currently housing a baby grand piano. And the outside is just as beautiful. The property is covered in tropical plants that provide enough privacy to keep the X-Men secret. And there's a pool and a triangular spa, perfect for learning how to run on water or swim for the non-mutant folk. Too many X-Men jokes? The backyard also has a pergola with a dining table and a built-in barbecue. It wasn't expressly mentioned, but we can only assume there's a ton of garage space between his two homes. Otherwise, where would he keep his collection of over 20 cars? Back in the day, Sir Patrick Stewart was a race car driver. There's no better car enthusiast than a racer, and he only can be described as an enthusiast. His collection is so large and diverse, he needs to use a Dewey Decimal System to organize them. His vintage collection starts with a car he learned how to drive in, a 1939 Ford Popular. The original price for the car was just over $600, and it's now worth $28,000. He has an Austin A35 worth $27,000, a Ford Squire Estate worth $8,000, a Morgan Lightwood race car that he actually raced and worth upward of $50,000, a Cadillac DeVille worth $32,000, a Tomboat Sunbeam worth up to $51,000, a Honda Prelude worth up to $6,000, a Buick Riviera worth up to $100,000, an Alfa Romeo Alfa Sud worth up to $38,000, a Peugeot 205 GT worth up to $32,000, a BMW 635 CSI worth up to $70,000, a Mercedes 420 SEC Coupe worth up to $60,000, a Toyota Celica worth up to $9,000, a Jeep Grand Wagoneer worth up to $25,000, and a Jaguar XJS convertible worth up to $30,000. His modern cars range from practical to super, kind of like his acting career. Among the more subtle cars is a Lexus RX 450h worth around $56,000. He also owns a Porsche Panamera 4E Hybrid worth $80,000. He said that although he loves all of his cars, he drives his hybrid vehicles the most. He also owns an Audi Q7 worth $57,000. The queens of his collection are his supercars. He has a Porsche 911 worth $100,000 and a McLaren 650S Spyder worth $270,000. You haven't seen true joy until you've seen Picard behind the wheel of a bright orange McLaren. The funny thing is, he didn't start off as a car guy. In a 2021 appearance on The Late Late Show, Stewart told James Corden he had the worst car of all the Star Trek Next Generation cast. He knew he was making money, but he didn't know how much, and he bought a used Honda to drive around in. Maybe it's the Honda Prelude he has in his collection. It's crazy that at one point he was rolling around in a little sedan, and now he has enough cars to fill up an airplane hangar. Rachel McAdams has been an icon since 2004. Depending on your persuasion, she'll either be Regina George or Allie Hamilton forever. After almost 2 decades of great success, this mean girl has a net worth of $16 million. Unlike Regina George, when McAdams is off screen, she likes to be incognito. She's not on social media, and most of her life is private. Her largest known purchase is a townhouse in Toronto. It was worth an estimated $750,000 when she bought it. It has since been renovated. The house was built in the 1800s and features wild grasses in the front yard and a private backyard rooftop with a view of Toronto. The house is fairly unassuming in the neighborhood. Her garage got tagged once, which shows celebrities aren't immune to vandalism. But it's clear that she feels safe there. Toronto has a high rate of bike theft, and yet, passersby often see McAdams' bike parked outside. She's an advocate for green living, and biking is her preferred method of transportation. Although she prefers to brave the elements, she does have a car for occasions that require it. And despite having a small fortune, she actually made it to the hot cars list of 10 cheapest cars driven by celebrities. She's rolling around in a red convertible Mini Cooper coupe. It's a pretty basic car, but Rachel seems to lead a pretty basic lifestyle. She's a wholesome lady. When paparazzi catch her in the wild, she's riding around on her bike with a little basket in the front. She'll even ride in heels. We can see the future, and it's celebrities pulling up to the red carpet on bicycles. In a 2013 interview with Ellen, she admitted that her bike was rickety and made a lot of noise when she rode it. With all the money she saves on housing and cars, you'd think she would just buy a new bike. In photos, it's hard to tell on what kind of bike she's riding around on. It looks like a generic two-wheeler that you can get at Walmart. At the end of the Ellen interview, Ellen gifted a Schwinn bike to Rachel. Schwinns are middle of the road in the bike community, and they can cost anywhere from $300 to $1,200. We can't decide if it's exciting or disappointing that the Queen Bee of North Shore High lives so conservatively, but at least she's trying to stay green. A crowd favorite from the original Doctor Strange, Infinity War, Endgame, and Shang-Chi is Benedict Wong. The mystical librarian's time on screen has earned him a net worth of $3 million. Not everyone who joins the MCU is versed in comic book canon, but that is not the story with Wong. This Benedict was a huge comic book fan growing up. He loved Spider-Man, and he would always be at his local comic book shop in Manchester, reading until they kicked him out. There's even a picture of him on Instagram wearing Spider-Man leggings. It's safe to assume he spent a chunk of his life income on comic books and memorabilia. And how cool it must be to live in the stories that he read up on as a kid. What are the chances that he would play a character with the same name? Even crazier, what are the chances that he wouldn't be the only guy named Benedict on set? In addition to being a comic fiend, Wong is also part of a GoFundMe for Stop Asian Hate. He's contributed funds to the cause and promotes it on his social media. The initiative was started to help victims of hate crimes in the wake of COVID-19. He stated that his mother works for the National Health Service and has been subjected to verbal assaults during the pandemic. Chiwetel Ejiofor has been a staple in TV and film since the late 90s. Some of his top credits include 12 Years a Slave and Love Actually. His impressive career has earned him a net worth of $16 million. Not much is known about what he buys for himself, but he is very active in various charities. These include GeneCo, Global Goals, Keep a Child Alive, and the UN Development Program. Ejiofor is a British Nigerian, and he contributes to the GeneCo Foundation. They organize surgical missions to fight anemia and help vulnerable pregnant women safely deliver babies in Nigeria. They also donate computers, books, medicine, and sport fields to schools in Nigeria, and they provide tuition, medical care, and professional psychology to female victims of violence and gender inequality in Nigeria. In 2015, Ejiofor was awarded the Global Promise Award for his work with the organization. Global Goals is a set of 17 commitments made by 193 world leaders. Their goal is to end extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change by 2030, all in a day's work. Keep Children Alive is committed to empowering children and young people. They're focused on combating the physical, social, and economic impacts of HIV/AIDS. The United Nations Development Program aims to eradicate poverty and inequality in over 170 countries and territories. It's very clear that Chiwetel cares deeply about his heritage and wants to do his part to help Nigeria and the world thrive. It's always nice to see a man with means and opportunity use it for good. Horror fans will recognize Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams from the Evil Dead franchise. Or maybe you see him and think of Coach Boomer from Sky High. Sam Raimi directed the Evil Dead films and the new Doctor Strange, so it was very fitting that Campbell was cast. Though as what, we don't know yet. He's been in films and TV shows since the 80s and has earned a net worth of $10 million. According to public record, Sonic Boom bought a house in Ashland, Oregon in 2007 for $530,000. The house is 2,200 square feet with 7 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. Not much else is known about the house, but Campbell is an author as well as an actor. In his book Hail to the Chin, Further Confessions of a B-Movie Actor, he describes weaponized neighbors, wayward skunks, severed deer legs, and much more. We can't think of a better place for a man who made his living off of horror films to go. He also wrote that he filmed his cameo horror film, My Name is Bruce, on his own property, so he actually does live in a scary movie. Bruce also mentions that he's a member of the Ashland Elks Lodge, also known as the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks. Dues for regular membership are $122 a month. It sounds steep, but Campbell mentions playing cards, pool, and cheap alcohol. And they support various charities through donations. Sounds like an absolute blast. And without the director, there would be no movie. Sam Raimi is known for directing the cult horror franchise The Evil Dead and the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. The Spider-Man movies alone made over $2.5 million at the global box office, and Raimi has a net worth of $55 million. With his Marvel fortune, Raimi has bought a house in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood in Los Angeles for $11.8 million in 2008. There aren't a lot of public details about the house, but from overhead footage, you can see the house is huge, and there's a pool in the backyard. And he and his wife share 5 children, so it can be assumed that they have at least 4 bedrooms, if not more. One interesting Easter egg to look for in Raimi's films is a yellow 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88. The car, nicknamed the Classic, is featured in almost every film of Raimi's professional career. It's the car that Ash Williams drives in the Evil Dead films, and the car that Uncle Ben drives in Spider-Man. If not driven by a character, it appears in the background. The car was originally purchased brand new by Raimi's father in 1973. At the time, it would have cost just under $5,000. Now in good condition, it would be worth up to $35,000. Of course, Raimi's Delta 88 has seen some things. We can only imagine the kind of wear and tear a car goes through on the set of a slasher film. A returning member to the Doctor Strange cast is dramatic actor Michael Stuhlbarg. Some of his most recent roles include Call Me By Your Name, Arrival, The Shape of Water, and Dope Stick. He was also the lead in the Coen brothers film A Serious Man. You may have also confused him for Joaquin Phoenix in the past because they look extremely similar. His filmography is flooded with Oscar nominations and has earned him a net worth of $7 million. And a newcomer to the cast is young actress Xochitl Gomez. Fans of the Netflix series The Babysitter's Club will recognize her as the original Dawn Schaefer. She was recast after she left the show to join Doctor Strange. She's only 15, so her time on screen has been short. However, she still has an approximate net worth of $1 to $2 million. In the movie, she'll be playing a new character named America Chavez. In the comics, America is a superhero who can open up portals, who has super strength and super speed. We're very excited to see this play out on screen. Between Sir Patrick Stewart and Benedict Cumberbatch alone, their movies have made a collective $14 billion in the worldwide box office. Even with theater attendance down, Multiverse of Madness is going to be a box office explosion. Maybe they'll celebrate with matching Rolls Royces.